Okay, good to vach. We begin a new parak where Memhei obeys the parak Hashutafin, the literally partnership. So it's if you see this huge ran over here, this ran is a very famous ran regarding the sugya of Breira. Bez Hashem, we'll get back to this ran after we finish the shir. I'd like to do the shir and then go back to the ran on Breira exactly to answer a difficult question that will be come about at the beginning of the share. That'll come about at the beginning of the share. Just after 1 second, I just want to. Okay, so how the way the Torah defines shutfis partnership is very different than the way the world at large does. The easiest translation of a partnership is each person owns 50%. You earn 50% of it, and he owns 50% of it. It seems that the Torah's partnership is that each one of you own 100% of it. Each one of you own 100% of it, and therefore, when I can use something, you can't, and when you can use something, I can't. But we each own all of it. In other words, we all each own equal rights in 100% of the whatever we own together. But we have equal rights in not this is mine and this is yours. We own the whole thing together and we have equal rights of usage. That's the best way to describe partnership. So the sugya over here, when a person is muda hanof mechavero, let's say we both muda hanof, let's say I from Lenny, we both say we both can't have enough from each other and we own a field. But if you, right, neither of us can go in that field because you're walking on my part and I'm walking on your part. And we don't say Lenny's walking on his part and I'm walking on my part. We say each one is working on each other's part because we both have rights there. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is of the opinion that no, we say what the concept is called breira. What's breira? That it's hovra hadavra. It's clear when Lenny was on the field, that was his time of using the field. When I was on the field, it's my time of using the field. So we weren't over on our neder because at that period of time, it wasn't Lenny's. In that period of time, it wasn't mine. That's the way Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov holds it, because he holds yesh breira, that huvra hadavra retroactively it reveals when I was on the field, it was my field. When Lenny was on the field, it was his field. That's the way Rabbi Eliezer holds. As the chum sold ain breira, we don't say breira, and we don't say huvra hadavra. That was we say what? That it's not clear. We don't say breira, so we don't say breira. Lenny was on my part and I was on his part. That is the aside of the machlokes of the Gemara. Says the Mishnah, hashutafim shenodru. Shutafim that I make a neder enough from each other. Asurim likanis l'chatzer. They're usher to enter the chatzer. They can't. And let's see the ran right away. Let's see we'll see the segment of this large ran. We'll see a segment of this large ran. Who's this? Who's here? Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. 2 lines from the top. Okay, Avrami, we just said if 2 people are muda enough from each other, neither one can go in the field. Avrami Branka, if 2 people are muda enough from each other, neither one can go in the field. Ukim the big Gemara, we're doing the ran, 2 lines from the top. The Gemara will establish it's speaking she'ein bo din chaluka, where this field it can't be divided up. It's too small to be divided up. We'll get into this soon. But if it's a field that can be divided up. In other words, each partner can force a division. Each one can say, "Listen, I don't like this partnership anymore. Let's end the partnership and divide the field because it's large enough." Meaning, there's 4 amis by the entranceway of each person's house and an additional 4 amis. Then Divya called even Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov will be minded that it's asa. Okay. This machlokes between the Chachamim and Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is dependent upon the concept of breira. The Rabbi Eliezer savar yesh breira. He holds yesh breira. V'hayl the nafshei ka'ayil. V'hayl the nafshei ka'ayil. And in my scenario, when Lenny walked in, he walked in on his own. When I walked in on my own. Rabban and Savi, no, ain't breira. V'timhani no the kosova v'timhani. It's a wonder. Now I got a kasha. The Ran's going to ask a kasha. Even if you hold ain breira, why should it be asa? Why? Nehid the kasav rabban and ain breira. Amaya surun likanis l'chatzer. Why can't we go in? The kivin the chatzah she'ein bo din chaluka since the chatzah is so small, right? It doesn't have a din chaluka. The ain't shut if yachal lakav es chaveru lachleik. Neither one can force the division because it's too small to divide. And neither one can stop the other from going to the chatzar. By a neder. These is a question like this, guys. If it's speaking where we can't force a division, which means each one of has the right to go in, why would a neder change that? In other words, what I don't have a right to, the time span where I can't be there, I can't asa on Lenny. And conversely, Lenny can't asa on me, the time span he can't be there. If you can force the division, we can say what? Okay, he's coming into force the division. I have a piece of the action over here. Even Rabbi Yosef and Yaakov is way since I clearly have a piece of the action over here, he can't force, it's usher. Or where you can't force the division, the svara of Rabbi Yosef and Yaakov is so powerful, even if you hold ein breira, still since we can't divide it, and I have a right to be there, and he has a right to be there, how can the neder answer it? So Duran's going to say a supulum guys. He's going to say a supulum and let's finish it off. In other words, since Lenny can't stop me going in the field, and I can't stop him from going in the field, how can we answer it? Guys, so here the din. If it doesn't have a din chalukah, neither one of us can stop each other from going on there. So why is it usher to go on it? Why is it usher according to the chachamim? Like Rabbi Yosef and Yaakov, it's beautiful. Yesh breira. When you go on when Lenny goes on the field, clearly that's his time. When I go on the field, clearly that's my time. What's the svar of the chachamim that it's usher? Even if you hold ein breira, the chachamim amoida, neither one of us can force the division. We both have rights to be there. If we both have rights to be there, how can we ask ourselves? How can my neder ask something that's not mine? How can Lenny's neder ask something that's not his? That's the kasha of the chachamim. And so venerally says the Ran, the hainu time ayu the rabbanon mishum, the kivan the efshel loima the kol chad koni l'kulei chotza kinyan aguf la'olam. You can't say either one acquires the body itself. Since there's no division, neither one of us can acquire the whole thing. The mar lav demar. Because if it belongs to Lenny, it doesn't belong to me. If it belongs to me, it doesn't belong to Lenny. The ef shaloima gamkein the b'shosh mishtamish boyiglay milsel mafreya the b'shas kaniya kana law. Why? Because they hold ein breira. Lahahi shaita kinyan guf the ein breira because he doesn't know the breira. So in other words, there's two possibilities over here. One, when I'm on the field, it's my field, and when Lenny's on the field, it's his field. Okay, so you can't go ahead and say that because of the concept of what? Of ein breira. El kol chad mi'hanach shutfin yesh le'lo'im b'chotze ze kinyan aguf dayin chelkoi the kinyan shibud b'chelkoi shel chaveiroi. So what's the lumdus, super lumdus over here? Guys, I own something, he owns something. I also have a shibud on him, and he has a shibud on me. He has some type of indenture on me, and I have sometimes indenture on him to stop him. What's the indenture? That I can't stop him. Despite the fact I have some ownership over here, I can't stop him coming on. Despite the fact Lenny has some ownership over here, I can't stop him. Each one of us has a shibud on the other guy. So the question is, if on that, and even though I'm not claiming the goof that he owns, that kinyan shibud that you have on your friend, that kinamis takes it off. The kinamis mafkiya midei shibud. We saw earlier in the Masechta that if you have a shibud on something, right, the act of making something kodesh takes off that shibud. So, for example, if I sell a property to Kenny, and Kenny says, I lend something to Kenny. Kenny says, you know what? If I don't pay you back, this is the place you're going to have a paitigi. You're going to collect from here. And then he goes ahead and is magdish the property, right? Then automatically the lien that I have in the property goes off. The act of koinim, the act of kodesh takes off a lien. Says the Ran, when two people own the property together, there's a shibud. They both have a shibud on each other. That it's a meshubah to each other. The act of neder takes off that shibud. Since the act of takes off that shibud, and I hold ein breira, therefore what? You can ask on each other. It's a big lumbus to explain a difficult question. Okay? Either way, the Mishnah Pashup Shah, the Mishnah for Daf Yomi purposes, right, is simply we have machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim. Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov holds yesh breira. Therefore, when he's on the field, it's his. When I'm on the field, it's mine. the Chacham say, behold, ein breira, and therefore we can't use it because of the lumdus of the shiba that we have. Even though we can't ask on each other something, the shiba that we have, the act of koinim takes off that shiba, and that we could ask. Mem vav amud aleph. Ushneim asurim lahabed rechayim v'taner ulegadol tana goyim. They're both asur, both of the shutfim. They can't go ahead and put on mat rechayim. They couldn't put up a mill or an oven in the chutzner, or to grow chickens in the chutzner. Because again, even though usually people are mevater, obviously this is going according to the opinion that viter is asur. That because we're not allowing each other to walk on the field, mevater, we said spoke that viter, usual things that people look away from, we're not looking away from over here. Okay, so that would be asur. Next thing, let's say I'm asking it on Lenny that he can't have ana. Lenny can't go in. Lenny's saying I can go in. In other words, there's no, the same achloikis that we have by two is by one. The Ran brings in, there's no chiddush over here, and the whole reason we're bringing this in is for the next case. The same achloikis that exists when they're both asa would exist only when one of them is asa. I'm going in mine, I'm not going in yours. However, the koifines hanoider, we're going to force the one that is aser, limcher eschelkoi, to go ahead and sell the stelek. Okay, so here's the question. When I go ahead and aser, right, I'm asking Lenny, how can I force Lenny to sell the stelek? So it must be, I'm asking myself on Lenny. The Gemara is going to go through this. Is it when you ask yourself or you ask somebody else? And the Gemara is going to say, it must be speaking where you ask yourself. So in other words, why would it be aser? So why do you force the guy to sell it? Lenny can use the field, I can't. We're going to force me to sell the field. Why can you force me to sell the field? Says the Ran a very interesting svara. Says the Ran a svara of kina, that I'm going to see Lenny using the field and I'm not able to. I may be over on my neder, and therefore for that reason, to avoid being over on the severity of the neder, being la yachal devaroi, we force me to sell it. So far we've seen two dinim with two applications. We see one din, the din that of the two shutfin asur upon each other's machloikus between the Chachamim and Rebbe Eliezer. The same machloikus exists by one person, and they're telling me a chiddush, and the one person that it's asur, if he asked it upon himself, the Gemara is going to discuss this, he will be forced to sell it because the kina, and we're worried that since the other person's used it, he may come to use it himself and will be over on his neder, therefore one. And regarding putting use for other usage, they're both asur to set up shop. They can't put chickens there, they can't put a mill there or an oven there. Continues the Mishnah. If one person from the shuk said he can't have enough from Lenny and I, he can't have enough from the field, he can't come in. He could say, in other words, let's say Dove was usher upon me, he could say, I'm going to Lenny's part. I'm going to Lenny's part, I'm not going to your part. So Yemud enough from me, says the Chachamim, the same thing, Dove can't go in. But Dov can kind of like Rezim and Yaakov, he's not going to my part, he's going to Lenny's part because Yesh Breira. If someone's mudanah from his friend, he has a BF house, or an olive press, let's say they rent it out to the city. Now he wants to press olives and he wants to take a bath. Can he use it? Now it's owned by the person that he's mudanah from. He's owned by that person. If the person that was muda enough from, that he can't have enough from, has a piece of the action, we'll see what that means in the Gemara. Asur, it's asur. If the person does not have a piece of the action, then mutter will be permitted. And we'll see that in the Gemara exactly what that means. The final bit of the Mishnah is something we had previously. Your house is koinim, I can't go in. Your field that I bought, if the person dies or sells it, it's no longer sadcha, it's no longer lebeischa. If the guy dies or sells it to somebody else, since it's no longer sadcha or beischa, the neder is no longer in vogue. However, he says that he asks the house itself, not your house, but the house, this house. This field that I buy, then what? It would be asa. So generally, you would think that this is the only chumrah, guys, you have, right? The only chumrah would be in the second case, right? In the first case, if Reuben says, my house is also on you, right? My field is also on you. Once it's not you, when Harry's out of the picture, right, then it will be mutter. So that, however, if Harry says this field or this house, it would always be asa. There's a kula. There's a kula. What happens if the house falls down? Let's say the house falls down. So in the case of your house, if it's rebuilt, it's still Harry's house, and then it will be asa. But in the case of Bayezeh, this house no longer is it this house. So in other words, there's a kula in the second case as well. It's a very nice lumdus, right? Again, clearly in the first case, once if the Harry's out of the picture or the house is sold, then it'll be permitted to the person that he's mudanaf from. Mashenkin, if it's specific, this house, this field, it will be usher. The Ram points out that there's a scenario where the latter case will be a kula or a kula, and the previous case will be a chumrah. Why would that be? The case of bias zeh. So let's say the house falls in. So if it's your house, it would still be your house. It would be usher. However, bias zeh, this is not bias zeh, because this is no longer the same house that you made the neder on, and therefore would be what? It would be mutter in mudahan. Says the Gemara. Now, guys, there's two ways you can go ahead and be asa. Either you asked it on yourself, or your friend asked it upon you. You said, I went ahead and I said that Lenny's field is asa to me, or Lenny said to me, my field is asa to you. So one is your noider, where the person himself makes the isser, or the other one is where someone else makes the isser, right? I don't want to do anything. Lenny went ahead and pushed my buttons by making it asa, versus myself asking. There are two ways. I can create the isser, or Lenny can. So we want to know in our Mishnah, this din, is it in both scenarios? Only one scenario. Says the Gemara. Here's the shaila. Benidroi pligi, the machloikas between Rabbi and the Chachamim was where the person asked it upon himself. But he diru zeh mai, where each person asked it. In other words, I didn't create the issa. Lenny created the issa. Mai. Mi amina benidro hu de pligi, where I made the neder. They argue. Aval bediru zeh mai the Rabban Rabbi Lesman Yaakov the chi anusim damu. Notice there, Rabbi Lesman Yaakov would say there maybe chama maida. I didn't want to ask, so Lenny asked it. Lenny, he asked it. So maybe in that case they'd be moida. In other words, they would say in that case, yesh breira. Dilma feel bedir says even when you don't create the issa, but your fellow partner creates the issa, pligi rabbana. They argue. For this, I went to Taisus. Taisus is very brief. Let's go to Taisus. Benidrahu the pligi, dibar maskal benidrahu the pligi, beneder me atzmai. He himself makes the neder. The chol echad v'echad asa benafshay. Each person, in my case, I asked it, Lenny asked it. In other words, we asked ourselves on each other's property. A lashon of koinim that I won't have enough from you. There's a reason to be machmir. And the Rabbanon will cancel us. And therefore it will apply the concept of ein breira pashtus. Aval hidiru, we didn't do anything wrong. Each person said they can't have enough from him. Moidalahu, there'll be moida, the Rabbanon, the Rebbe Eliezer, the Kanusim Damu, the Islu Breira. In that case, they would hold Breira, Ubinedroi Kansu, Al Badir Kansu. So, in other words, let's start with this. Ken Zayin the Chachamim hold Yesh Breira. So, why, if they hold Yesh Breira, why are we asked? So, if you hold Yesh Breira, Lenny, when he uses it, it's his. When I use it, it's mine, right? And the answer is, it's because you went ahead and created the Issa. And if you created the Issa, we're not going to allow you to use it. On the other hand, if the other person created the Issa, Lenny to me and me to him, then the Chacham would be Moed ben Yaakov. Or no, do we say, no, forget about it. We never hold a breira, no matter how it becomes Asa, whether you ask it yourself or your partner asks it on yourself, we're not going to say breira, and therefore the same halacha exists. That's the lumdus over here. One more time. Iboilahu. Benidrei pligi the machloikis is when he asks it upon himself. He created the Issa, but Adir is mai. But if he doesn't create the Issa, his partner creates this the mai. Me, I mean, benidrei who the pligi because of knas. Allah Adir is moidlei rabban levelsim Yaakov will say breira. Techi anusim damu. I dilma. I feel a bit. Adir is even when they ask him, the pligi. Why? Because of breira. And they hold a breira in any scenario. Pashma. Let's be patient from our Mishnah. Echad mehem mudahana mechaveroi. If one of them is mudahana from his friend, mashma, stam mudahana is an other person asks it upon you. Stam, guys, mudah usually is, I would ask it on Lenny. That's stam azoi. Upligi Rabbanon, and the Rabbanon argue. So let's be pushed the Shaila that what? That Hidiru is Asa. Mudahana. Guys, if I say someone's Mudahana, does it mean you created it or someone asked you? Let's get the bobblehead and the Sama asked you, right? Someone asked you, right? Someone asked you, yeah? Okay, so our Mishnah says the Chachamim still argue in our case. So let's answer our question. What's our query? What's the halacha if each one creates an Isra on himself? The Mishnah says, Mudahano, when someone creates an Isra on you, the Chachamim say it's still Asa. Let's be patient, boom. And for the Gemara, no. Says the Gemara, Tani noida mechaveri hano. Don't say that what? That your friend asked you, but noida, you created the Isra. You said you can't have hano. And we said, the Chachamim say over there, we can't, so therefore you can't be pushed to the Shaila. In other words, from a Mishnah, you can't be pushed to the Shaila. Hachanami mistabra, it makes sense to say that that's what we're speaking about, where you created this yourself. The Kani Seifa, because the Seifa of the Mishnah says the following: the Koifines HaNoidel Limcha Eskelkai. You force the Noidar to go ahead what and sell. Is awesome. Guys, let's go through it. Let's go through the kasha, the attempted proof, and the upshlag, and the proof to the upshlag. Shaila. Maybe the Chachamim only hold of Ein Breira where he himself created the Yisra, so we can't say the guy. You know, you made the rules, you play the game, right? That's it. You made it, you're out. But where the other person forced the issue, maybe the Chachamim would be Maidel Rezem and Yaakov, you could go on the field. Says the Gemara, I got a great proof that the Chachamim argue even when the person can create the Yisra. It says someone is mudahana from a and stam mudahana means that the other person made the Asa. Not you, the other person. And nonetheless, the Chachamim argue. So we push the Shaila that the Chachamim argue even when someone else created the Yisra. And for the Gemara, no, the Mishnah is speaking where you created the Yisra. Proof to that is a beautiful proof. They said if only one person's Asa, we force that person to sell his property because we're worried in his jealousy that the other person can use it, he might come to use it as well. Now, Bishlema, if I created the Isser, I understand why they forced me to sell it. You made your bed, you lie in it, right? You made your bed, you lie in it. You caused yourself the tsaris. Masha Enkin, if the other guy caused you the tsaris, that I can't. Why should I be forced to sell my thing because he was mudana? He made me asa. So l'chayre, that's a very good raya that a Mishnah is speaking where he made the neder, and therefore you can't use a Mishnah to go ahead and answer the question. It remains in a bayid lo yivshita. Getting back to the concept of which I didn't explain well, but I should have, but cut me a little slack. There's a halacha like this: a shutfis. With shutfis that you could go ahead and force the issue to divide and not. Every house is given. You guys remember our Erevin days? Guys, our Erevin days. We have a chutzner in front of houses. The house is open to a chutzner, open to a mavoi. So the chutzner was a place that was general usage. People used. In front of everyone's house, you got 4 amas. You had to bring up the car to drive to bring in the packages. You had to, everyone got 4 amas. Now, how much is left after each person gets 4 amis? How much area is left in that chutzner? If there's 4 amis in the chutzner, you could divide it. If there's less, you can't. Good. We can now suggest that our Mishnah is speaking, right? They're going to say that that everyone's moida where the chutzner din chaluka, it's muta, and we're going to say no, everyone holds it's asa. Omar Rabba, Omar Zeiri says Rabba in the name of Zeiri. Machloikis between Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov and the Chachamim, that the Chachamim say you can't go on the field and in the chutzner, and Rabbi Eliezer says you could. The sheyesh bem kedei chaluka, where you can possibly divide it up. Then we could say that there's the machloikis. Aval ein ba kedei chaluka divrei kol muta. If there's no chaluka, divrei kol muta. Okay, so now let's figure out let's figure it out over here. Let's work backwards. Guys, if there's no chaluka, meaning we're stuck with each other, Lenny and I, we're stuck. There's no chaluka. He can use it and I can use it, correct? Yeah. What's the svara? When he, again, shutfis doesn't mean you own partnership 50-50. You each own a right in every part of it. So when Lenny uses it, it's his. When I use it, it's mine. So even the chachamim would be maida in a chatzar she'ein bodin chaluka, that it's muta. We'd say in that case, yesh breira. When Lenny uses it, it's huvra that he's using, it's his. When I'm using it, it's huvra, I'm using the part that's mine. It's totally mine. We each own right in 100% of it. So that 100% is being used by him at this time. That 100% is used by my at this time. That would work. Everyone holds mutta. Where do we get into a problem? Where's it asar? Where's it asar? May I be with you? I'm going to finish the shemay and then we'll get back to you. Okay. So where is it asar? Is where we could force the issue. Where we could force the issue. Where we could force division. Then we have machlokes. Then Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says still yesh breira, right? And the Chacham say no, because what's your raya? Maybe maybe the part you're using is my part because ain't breira, it's no breira. That's what we're holding right now, and we're going to change that, guys, to the opposite. That even Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is moida when there's a din of chalukah, we'd say ain't breira. Even then, we're going to say okay. So now that's what the Gemara says. So again, what's the svar? Machlokes is only when what? When kedei chalukah. But when there's no chalukah, everyone says it's muta. Maybe we'll finish the Gemara. Maybe your question will be answered. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Hari Besa Knesses. Okay, let's say you muda enough from mechaberoi, you can't have enough from anything. And in town there's a base Knesses. Now the base Knesses is kamishema chalukah dami. Everyone in town has a piece of partnership in the base Knesses. You can't sell the base Knesses, so it doesn't have it in chalukah. Yet the halacha is ushnei masurim. If the muda hanaf mechaveroi, neither one is able to go ahead and come in. But 1 second, you just told me if it doesn't have a din chalukah, the muta that it's permitted, right? It doesn't have a din chalukah, it's muta that it's permitted. That's what you're telling me, correct? Again, why did you say when you don't divide it, even the chacham maida? So the base Knesses has a din of a chatzar that doesn't have a din of chalukah. And the Chacham say they're both asar. So you see the Chacham disagree with the premise of Rabbi, who said to Reb Zera. So Ella lashon charata, Ella v'tan shnei masurim b'dava shel oisa ir, which is dava oisa is municipal property. Ella Amar Rabbi Yosef Amar Ziri. Let's change it around. In other words, Rabbi said one din in Ziri, and Rabbi Yosef is going to say another din in Ziri. Machloikis she'ein ba kedei chalukah. The machloikis is when you don't have enough to divide. Then machloikis of yesh breira or not. Guys, again, when's the machloikis? Where it's not divisible. So if you hold yesh breira, when Lenny uses it, he's using it his own. When I'm using it, I'm using mine own. Ein breira, he's using mine and I'm using his. Can't do it. Aval yesh ba kedei chalukah, since it's going to be divided, there's no svara to say that it's being used in its entirety. Listen to my words. When it's being divided, I can't possibly say it's huvra that Lenny's using his part. Why? Because it's going to be divided, and obviously I have a part over there, and therefore Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov would be maida when it has a din of chalukah. Both are asa to go in, right? The Yaakov asa. Amrav Huna halacha Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. The halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. That where it doesn't have a din of chalukah, then you have right to go in. Okay, so guys, let's limaskana. Guys, limaskana. When the Mishnah says turn black to black, ashutaf and shenadru hana semizeh asurin lekanis lechatzer. We're speaking about a chatzer that does not have a din chalukah. You can't divide it. It's so small, it's indivisible. And Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer zen nichnas teich shaloi. Because we hold yesh breira, and it's huvra. When that person uses it, he's using an entirety. He's using the whole thing that's his. When I use it, he's using the whole thing that's mine. However, if it's a chatzah that you have to divide, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is moida that it's asa, because he can't say that what each one acquired the whole thing. Guys, listen. If it's going to be divided, what's the svara breira? What's the svara breira? that when Lenny uses it, he acquired the whole thing. When I used it, I acquired the whole thing because there's no din of chalukah. Once there's a din of chalukah, you can't possibly say that. Why? Because obviously there's a part that's not his that's going to be divided, and therefore Azam and Yaakov is Maida. Yes, Meya. Meya, it's your time to talk. Meya, if you can't get on the air, we're going to just go right there.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. My question, I don't know if it got answered or not, but where it's Ein Chaluk, where you can't split it up, and then Rabbi Yaakov says that it's what does he say? He says it's mutter to go in there, right? Does that mean both of them can't be there at the same time?
Right. L'chayra, they can't be there at the same time. I would think that's correct. The svara would be they can't be there at the same time. So it's an application of it. But again, what's the svara? The svara is that if it's not divisible, when I'm using it, it's mine. When you're using it, it's yours. Okay, now, there's a big kasha, guys, over here. There's a bomb kasha over here. We hold midaraisa ein breira. Yet over here, we're passing like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, yesh breira. The big Ran over here is bothered by that question. That big Ran is bothered by the question. So the Ran gives a few terutzim, brings in Rabbeinu Tam, it brings in other opinions. I want to go to the Ran. The Ran says a very nice lumdis, guys, and we'll talk that out. It's a beautiful hezbollah. Why this, even though, guys, the teretz is going to be, listen to the teretz. Even though you hold yesh ein breira, over here you would hold yesh breira. Even though you hold midaraisa ein breira, here you hold yesh breira. Let me bring the two cases of breira that you might be familiar with and that the Ran is going to use to contrast. A guy has two wives. They both have the same name. We know that a get has to be written lishma. It has to be written for that particular woman, the one that you're going to divorce. So if Reuven is divorcing Rachel, and Rachel is this Rachel A and Rachel B, he tells the cipher, write a get. She says, which one? Goes, just write Rachel, and whoever I give it to, it'll be retroactively clear that this is the one you wrote it for. It's not a good get, because ain't breira. Okay, that's the first case of breira. Second case of we didn't learn it yet. This we did learn. In order to be, a person wants to go outside his tchum on Shabbos. You're allowed 2,000 in each direction. However, we know that you can extend it if you take off, let's say 2,000 in the east, and you want to go 2,000 to the west. If you take off your 2,000 there, you can go 4,000 to the east. If you take off 2,000 over here, you can go 4,000 to the west. He has to go outside the tchum on Shabbos. He has to go 3,000 in this direction or 3,000 in that direction. The problem is he has to be kona his shvisa. He has to acquire that area before Shabbos. So he brings to a meal. He brings meals over there, 2 meals, and he says, which, and in the case of speaking, there's this rabbi coming who's going to be giving drashas. He want to go meet his Rebbe. He goes, whichever direction my Rebbe comes, at Beina Shmashos, it will be clear that that's where I wanted to go. So we don't say when the person shows up that Huvra Dovel Mafreya becomes clear that that's where he's supposed to go. So those are two places where we say Ein Breira. Again, one is to say retroactively is the get. The other one to say retroactively, it was his Tchum Shabbos was extended. Those are the two cases. Yet over here, we're saying Yesh Breira, that if there's no din chalukah, the person can go on the field and say it's his field. Okay, so let me show you exactly where the Ran's going to pick it up in this really long Ran. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines in the bottom. So here's the kasha, right? Why over here does Ben Yaakov say yesh breira? Right. Hainu taima mishum de breira de hacha adifo mi breira de alma. The breira over here is stronger than breira all over. The hainu taima damina ba alma de ein breira. What's the reason we say that by get or by tchum we say ein breira? It's not roy for something to be chal on a suffix. Lefika choimel a soifer kosab get leishti Write a get for my wife, and whichever one I want, I'll use. Pasal garish, but you know why? At the point he wrote it, guys, when he wrote the get, was there a suffix who would it be for? Right? When the Sofer wrote the get, there's a suffix. Is it going to be Rachel A or Rachel B? You didn't know at that time. There was a suffix at that time when it was written. And in addition, V'chein nami, in Bo Chacham leMizrach Eruv leMa'ariv, leMa'ariv Eruv leMa'ariv, Lei Mahani, Mishum Deshas Kniyas Erev, Lei Hoy Mizbarek Klal, Ezmim Yikne. The same suffix existed in the case of Eretz Chumim. Bein Hashmashos, you didn't know which one where it's going to be. So, in other words, we won't say Breira to Mimavara suffix. We won't say Breira to Mimavara suffix. Pirish. Do you know at the time the get was written if it's a get who the get's for? No. Do you know at the time of the Kniyas Tchum where it is? No. You need Breira to tell me, it was a get for this one. You need Breira to tell me it was a Tchum for this one. Breira can't do that. Breira can't go ahead and be Mavara a suffix where it was retroactively. I didn't bring this case in. Go quickly. Here's what we want. But over here by me and Lenny, guys, does Lenny have a piece of the action in this chatzah? Do I have a piece of the action in this chatzah? Is Breira going ahead and saying, do we have a piece? No. Breira is just saying the miyut. What's the miyut? At which point is our kinyan in vogue? That's all Breira is doing. When Lenny uses it, it's Lenny's. When I use it, it's mine. By the other, we needed the Breira over there to create the whole din. I needed the Breira to create the get. I needed the Breira to create the tchum. Over here, I don't need the Breira to create the kinyan. We both own a piece of the action. All the Breira is doing is going ahead and saying that kinyan that we have is in vogue at this point. That's what the Ran is called mi'uto. He's calling the miyat, meaning because since we all own it, the miyat is only having it. Therefore, this Breira, guys, is stronger than every other Breira. And with this, the Ran is answering the big kasha over here. If you're holding B'chol Torah Kula, that ain't Breira in the Yoni Deraisa, and Nedarim is it in Deraisa, how can we hold over here that the halachas like we realize in Yaakov that Yesh Breira? I behold all of Ein Breira. Answers the Ran, because this Breira is very different than every other Breira. Every other Breira, it's a beautiful svara, guys, right? Every other Breira, you need what? The Breira to create the din. I don't know. I don't know if this is a get. I don't know what the tchum is. The Breira is going to tell me exactly who the get was for. The Breira is going to tell me who's being kind of the shvisa, and it's creating it all. Over here, there's no question over here that both I and Lenny own a piece over here. The only Breira is doing this over here is to tell me when that piece that we already have is in vogue. Over there, you didn't have a get. Over there, you didn't have a tchum. Over here, we have the what? Over here, we have the kinyan. The question is the miyat, when exactly it's in vogue. That Breira can do. With this, the Ran is answering that the kasha that people is. Very good. Shmak Ran. Think about it. Have a good evening. Share tomorrow.